are 5 minutes into 2025, and I'm already thinking that we need to just unplug it, plug it back in, and see if we can get things to go a little bit better. So, what's happened so far? What are people concerned about? And what do we do about it? Let's get into it. Welcome to my channel, Outspoken Samantha. I appreciate you being here, whether this is the first time you have clicked on one of my videos or you are a returning supporter. Do me a couple favors, hit the thumbs up button, and also help me to reach my goal of 25,000 subscribers, and hit that subscribe button now, and turn on your notifications so that you never miss out on a conversation like the one we're about to have. So I think it's safe to say that a lot of us, after seeing the election results and breathing in a deep sigh of relief, we probably thought that maybe we'd get a little bit of calm before the storm, that perhaps we would get a little bit of a break from the madness and we could take at least a minute to relax before dealing with the next bout of chaos and questionable activity that we've come to know and expect while living in such turbulent times. However, those hopes have gone up in flames faster than Kamala's presidential campaign of fake joy, as we ended and started the year with abnormal activity in the skies regarding these drones. There's been weirdness on the ground as people are reporting their concerns regarding an unnatural presence of dense toxic fog all over different parts of the world. There have been several plane crashes and explosions, the heinous attack in New Orleans in the early morning hours of New Year's Day, the Cybertruck explosion in Las Vegas, and then there have been increased cases of the bird flu, leading to reports that there are areas of the country that might be trying to bring back mask mandates. I'm not going to deep dive into all of these things, but I will touch on them briefly to let you guys know what some people are saying and what people are concerned about, and overall just bring awareness to these stories so that you can dive deeper into them if you think that there's something worth exploring. First, as we know, drones started showing up in the skies over New Jersey in the mid to end of November. People were reporting that some of these things were as big as cars, that they were loud, and that what was going on was just not normal activity for what they were used to seeing in the skies above their houses. Then the sightings spread to other parts of the country like New York, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Florida, Texas, and they all had sightings. And of course, that led to people having understandable concerns about what was going on.
I saw my first drone sighting today. I was driving home from the gym. I look up into the sky and I noticed these really bright lights. And then they started flashing red and green and blue and really, really bright white light. Like it was not like an airplane. I mean, like maybe it could have been an airplane, but like airplanes, I feel like they don't have that bright of light when they're in the sky and like you can see them at night. I don't even know how to explain it. Like they looked closer to the ground than an airplane would be, especially by my house. And I fully believe that it was drones. Plus there was like 10 of them all like right next to each other, and I was like, there was no way that like that many planes would be flying together.
That's why people across the country looking for answers from those who should know what's going on, like the FBI, the CIA, the Pentagon. We were told that they didn't know anything, that it was nothing, and that these things were just items bought from a convenience store, and that if they had any other answers, that they promised they would tell us. The clear goal of the Biden administration and the media, who, as we know, are an arm of the Democrat Party for the most part and work to push their agenda, was to minimize what was going on and to get us to stop talking about this. They've pretended that it's nothing, and as such, the media has stopped talking about it, and as a result, we've stopped talking about it. But that doesn't mean that the activity has stopped. People are still seeing these things in the skies. And if you want to follow someone who is all about the drone activity, follow Bethany Frankel on TikTok, because she has been posting nonstop about this stuff for weeks. But the funny thing is, Bethany noticed that her drone content was being suppressed by TikTok. So she started calling the drones Dior bags, because it was the first thing that came to her mind that started with the letter D. And now everyone on TikTok who is still talking about this stuff is calling them Dior bags, which has made the reporting on this actually really, really funny to listen to. This is one of many people trying to explain their theories, now using this new code talk.
Dior handbags started showing up around late November, okay? Why? Because in Russia and Ukraine, handbags ended up being the most effective form of delivery of goods that ended up you know, accomplishing the handbag's mission. So in late November, Russia sent an intercontinental handbag into Ukraine. And then the United States said, "Oh, really? You think you have handbags?" And they sent up Gucci's, and they sent up Birkins, and they sent up Dior's, and they sent up everything over our own marketplace. That way, if we lose any of the bags, they don't fall into the hands of those who are not our allies. Those bags are a demonstration to the other nations that we have more bags. You may have some bags, but we have all of the bags. So it's a saber rattling of the bags, okay? These are not bags from another dimension. They are our bags. And the more confusion and the more problems that come up from them inspires and creates mass chaos. And that chaos lends itself to our handbag capitalist strategy. There.
Now, Bethany's latest video was from this morning, and she said that people are still sending her Dior bag footage, and she is doing her best to keep this topic at the forefront of people's minds because it hasn't gone away, despite the fact that the media and those in charge of our highest investigative and intelligence agencies pretend to have no idea what's going on.
I've received several Dior bag videos and messages about sightings, which are obviously not being reported in the mainstream media, which confirms what was told to me, which is that we are being desensitized. So it's normalized that we will see these Dior bags and other things in the sky, and that it's all part of a greater plan.
So do with that what you will. Another situation that people have been circulating their questions and concerns about is the presence of a dense fog that started to appear all over the US and the UK over the Christmas holidays. Now, we know that fog is fog and it's a normal thing. I live in Texas and it's kind of a normal time for fog to become more frequent. And we did have dense fog advisories here for a few days in a row, but I didn't notice anything weird about this fog. And I also wasn't paying that much attention to it. However, there seem to be a lot of consistencies in the reporting that people have shared about it from different areas, that it's far heavier and thicker than normal fog, that it doesn't dissipate as the day warms up like normal fog does, that it has a chemical smell to it, that it's leaving a filthy thick residue on people's vehicles, and after they go out in it, they develop symptoms like headaches, nausea, coughing, and other things. Now, for me, it's really hard to know what to make of this because I'm not trying to minimize what people are saying that they are experiencing, especially if there's something concerning going on. But sometimes I wonder if what people are saying that they're seeing is really there, or if this is something that's coming from the power of suggestion. Like the fog seemed normal, like it did to me, but then when someone suggested a smell and symptoms, did people start looking for a smell and then tying symptoms of illness to the fog in their area when they may not have done that had their algorithm not fed them a bunch of stories about people saying the same thing? Again, I don't know. But this is what one gal had to say about this whole situation.
Okay, so I have been going through the comment section trying to catch up on all the comments about the fog and the symptoms. And here are the states, the majority of the states that were in the comments that are saying that they have fog and symptoms that are accompanied. And then I will go through the symptoms. So the states that so far that I have seen commenting the most are Oregon, Minnesota, Texas, St. Louis, Oklahoma, Nebraska, Vermont, New Hampshire, Washington, Arizona, Idaho, Illinois, Maine, Georgia, Massachusetts, Louisiana, Wisconsin. The UK has actually been commenting. Kansas, England, Florida, Indiana, Iowa, Mississippi, Arkansas, Cali, North Carolina, Ohio, Michigan, Colorado, Utah, Nebraska, and there was more than that. I lived in Oregon my whole life. I am a born and raised Oregonian. I'm used to seeing fog. I am not used to seeing fog for months on end with like an hour break during the day, and that's it. I've been having to double up on my vitamin D. So this is not normal fog. And if you're not experiencing the symptoms that I'm about to list off, consider yourself very lucky. Having a loss of appetite, with a lot of people losing weight unexplained. Can't sleep at night. You feel really tired throughout the day because you're not sleeping at night, but all night you're just tossing and turning, having weird dreams. There's a really bad dry cough, but also congestion, which is weird because I've been congested, but I have a really dry cough. So it's very interesting. Extremely irritable. Some people are experiencing anemic problems. People are experiencing gut problems, stomach aches, diarrhea, nausea. I had some people commenting that they have jaw pain or headaches or both. There's just so many symptoms that are coming along. And the only thing that we all have in common from coast to coast is the fog. And then obviously a lot of us tap water, but that isn't necessarily going to be the same in every state.
You guys can let me know what your thoughts are on that. People are wondering, is this tied to the Dior bags? As some people did report seeing these things spray something into the skies, and then suddenly this fog shows up. I'm not trying to freak anybody out. I am just sharing what a lot of people have expressed their concerns about and looking for your input. Moving on, there have also been a few plane crashes that have happened over the last week or so. From what I know, there was one in Norway, South Korea, Canada, and California. This was a clip from the one in Korea, and I'm not going to play it because it really is disturbing to watch. And as far as why this might be happening, I know that in the US, we've seen the quality of our aircrafts go downhill, and we've seen major airlines like Southwest and Delta admit to having DEI hiring practices, which puts race over skill and merit. And we've wondered if the fact that they are lowering their standards for who is working on and managing and flying their planes is the reason that we have seen so many issues. The fact that these incidents have happened in different areas of the world indicates that there might be more to it than just the destructive effects that DEI and wokeness in general are known to have on any industry that they touch. Are you guys exhausted yet? Because there's more. I started to hear people talk about the bird flu, and I do think that there seemed to be an initial attempt to scare us into believing that there could be another pandemic type situation on our hands. But since this is an illness that we've been aware of for a really long time, and we're pretty aware of how to avoid it, I don't think that they're going to be able to accomplish much in trying to do things like lock us down or make us mask up or force us to get a jab. But that doesn't mean that they're not going to try. This is Dr. Leanna Wen, who was a big fan of the COVID vax and pretty much all of the mandates that came with that situation. And now she's trying to use some of the same tactics to perhaps get us to accept this new round of jabs associated with the bird flu.
Be happening in the Biden administration right now that isn't going on?
Yeah, there are two main things that they should be doing in the days that they have left. The first is to get testing out there. I feel like we should have learned our lesson from COVID that just because we aren't testing, it doesn't mean that the virus isn't there. It just means that we aren't looking for it. We should be having rapid tests, home tests available to all farm workers, to their families, for the clinicians taking care of them so that we aren't waiting for public labs and CDC labs to tell us what's bird flu or not. And the second very important thing is this is not like the beginning of COVID where we were dealing with a new virus, we didn't have a vaccine. There actually is a vaccine developed already against H5N1. The Biden administration has contracted with manufacturers to make almost 5 million doses of the vaccine. However, they have not asked the FDA to authorize the vaccine. There's research done on it. They could get this authorized now and also get the vaccine out and to farm workers and to vulnerable people. I think that's the right approach because we don't know what the Trump administration is going to be doing around bird flu. If they have people coming in with anti-vaccine stances, could they hold up vaccine authorization? If they don't want to know how much bird flu is out there, could they withhold testing? I mean, that's a possibility. And I think the Biden administration in the remaining days should get testing and vaccines widely available so that at least it empowers state and local health officials and clinicians to do the right thing for their patients.
Well, the thing is, Dr. Wen, we did learn our lessons from COVID. Secondly, I think if she has to rely on fear-mongering around Trump to make a public health recommendation, then it's safe to say that her stance is probably more about politics, power, and control than it is about health and safety. Third, there are several people who have said that if you don't want to get the bird flu, then don't mess with dead, sick birds. So getting the vaccine to people who are farming or are more vulnerable absolutely makes sense, as it did the first time that we did this dance, especially since this is one that has been out for a while. If you want to make sound recommendations to the general public to get this vaccine, that's totally fine, as long as you allow people to make a choice that makes the most sense to them. That includes on everything from vaccines to masks. But it's because of the things that we experienced just a couple of years ago that when this article came out in the Daily Mail, that people were in a bit of an uproar. It says face mask mandates return in multiple states as doctors warn of quad-demic of 4 viral infections. Now, the community note below this post does clarify that the article is talking about hospitals and their staff. But let's be clear, that's how it started the first time. Fauci told us not to use masks so that there would be enough for medical staff who were treating COVID patients. But then he later flipped the script in saying that this was necessary for everybody to abide by, so much to the point where we couldn't go into public establishments or go get our groceries or send our kids to school unless they were covering their faces with pretty much anything. So again, Dr. Wen, we have learned our lesson, which is why I appreciate this gal's response to what's going on with this.
Hell to the no, am I going to do this stupid crap again? First and foremost, you can take the mask, and I want you to take them, fold them very neatly, and then I want you to shove it right between your booty cheeks, because I'm not doing this crap again. Didn't do it the first time, I'm not going to do it this time.
Just to round all of that up, we saw the absolutely heinous attack in New Orleans, where a man drove his truck through a crowd on Bourbon Street, killing at least 15 people and injuring dozens more. He opened fire on police officers and then had his own life ended. On the same day, a man drove a Cybertruck up to the Trump Tower in Las Vegas and it exploded. Now, there are plenty of people reporting on these two incidents as they happened really close together. And unsurprisingly, the FBI was quick to say that the New Orleans situation was not a Schmererist attack, and then had to turn around and say that it was being investigated as such, much like the Cybertruck situation. They really couldn't avoid calling it that, because if it walks like a duck, it quacks like a duck. Turns out the guy with the truck in New Orleans had an ISIS flag on the bed, and he and the guy who detonated the Cybertruck served at the same military base, which is Fort Bragg, if that's not weird. And this article came out today that perhaps might be tying some of these insane activities together. Alleged Cybertruck bomber reportedly sent a bizarre email about New Jersey drones and war crimes in Afghanistan before attack. It says the U.S. Special Operations soldier who allegedly detonated explosives inside a Tesla Cybertruck outside the Las Vegas Trump Hotel had reportedly emailed a bizarre message about the drones over New Jersey and other esoteric topics. The U.S. Army confirmed that Master Sergeant Matthew Allen Livelsberger was on leave when he reportedly died in the explosion on New Year's Day. On Friday, an email attributed to Livelsberger appeared on social media and revealed his thoughts just days before the incident. It says, first off, I'm not under duress or hostile influence or control. My first car was a 2006 black Ford Mustang V6 for verification, began the email that was sent to retired U.S. Army intelligence officer Sam Shoemate. Shoemate read the email on the Sean Ryan podcast, and after he released it on email, the contents were confirmed by authorities as being authored by the suspect. The message goes on to read, what we have been seeing with drones is the operational use of gravitic propulsion systems powered aircraft by most recently China in the East Coast, but throughout history, the US, he continued. Only we in China have this capability. Our open location for this activity in the box is below. China has been launching them from the Atlantic from submarines for years, but this activity recently has picked up. As of now, it is just a show of force, and they are using it similar to how they used the balloon. Livelsberger went on to call the drones the most dangerous threat to national security that has ever existed. He claimed that either the FBI or Homeland Security had been following him and digitally tracking him. He goes on to talk about some other very concerning things. At the end, it says investigators have been trying to piece together the events leading up to the explosion. They believe that Livelsberger rented the Cybertruck from the Turo rental service and filled the back with various explosives. And Turo rental service is the same place that the guy who drove the truck through New Orleans had rented his truck from, as he was found with a gunshot wound in his head, leading investigators to believe he killed himself before the explosives were set to detonate. So based on all of that, people's response to what's been going on already, just really makes sense.
I think 2025 is about to be the least outside year of my life. Don't call me and ask me if I'm coming, because I'm not, especially if it's in a large crowd. Are you coming to the Nope? Are you going to be at the Nope? Are you going to go see the Nope? I'm not going to be there. I might not come out for the next 4 years.
Here we are, it's only January 6th. And you know, there are things going on that I didn't even get to in this particular video. If you really want your brain to explode, check out the depraved activity that's been going on in the UK, totally ignored by law enforcement and politicians. Also, listen to Sean Ryan's podcast and his recent interview with Sarah Adams, and she has some little nuggets that'll really put things into an alarming perspective. Anyway, I would love to hear all of your thoughts on all of these stories. What have you heard? What do you think is going on? And I'm honestly not trying to freak people out or spread misinformation, just to make people aware, because as we know, we cannot rely on the media to do so. I'm also pretty sure that the algorithm gods are going to absolutely hate everything that I've talked about in this video, so it is going to rely heavily on your engagement and sharing for anybody to actually see it. Leave your thoughts in the comments below, hit the thumbs up button, make sure that you are subscribed. If you want to support my channel in other ways, you can buy me a coffee by clicking on the link in the pinned comment below. Now, I'm going to go reread the book of Revelations and see what's coming next. Keep it real, guys, and I will see you in the next one.